This is a summary of the novel Slaughterhouse 5 or The Children's Crusade by Kurt Vonnegut. This novel was written or published in 1969, and it begins with Kurt Vonnegut explaining why he's writing a novel about war. Um, it also talks about why he wants to write it, how he wants to write it, and we're really introduced to his life and what he went through at war. There's one instance where he talks about how there's this one guy when he was at war, and this one guy he was killed so badly that they had to put his body in a wheelbarrow to bring him home. So war is not a fun thing. War is very detrimental and horrific. So the first few chapters, the first few pages of this book, they kind of talk about that. The author, Kurt Vonnegut, really explains what he saw at war and the really the impact of it on him and when he goes back home. But the main character of this novel is Billy Pilgrim. Billy Pilgrim is a very interesting character. Um, this novel is not like any other novel. Any other story that you read, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So that means the story leads you along. It's step by step. This happened, and that happened, and this happened, right? No, this novel is not like that at all. You're introduced to Billy Pilgrim, and first you see him at World War II. He's not a very good soldier. And then the next thing you see him on another planet. He's been abducted by aliens, by the Transfamadorians to be exact. And then the next thing you know, he is being married to a woman by the name of Valencia. So in World War II, Billy Pilgrim he meets this guy by the name of Weary. And Weary, in a way, saves Billy's life a lot of times because he was a very incompetent soldier. And Weary was there in a way he protected him. However, Weary does lose his life because when they get captured, the German soldiers they take Weary's boots away, and then his feet rot, and he dies. His friend within this war, by the name of Paul Lazaro, he has this list that he marks everyone who he hates or everyone he wants to get revenge on, and he puts Billy's name on this list, and he tells Billy that as soon as the war is over, one day he's gonna die because that's the promise, or that's what he wants to do for his friend Weary that died because of Billy. And this novel, it's really cool because this is not a joke. Lazaro does kill Billy in the future, and the novel jumps ahead. It has like a time jump, and it shows you like Billy does die in this manner. Lazaro hires a hitman to kill Billy, and Billy dies in this manner. And Billy knows it. He accepts it because the aliens that he meets in this novel by the Transfamadorians, they told him that was going to be his death date. That's how he was going to die, and that's how his life was going to be. So that was just an important thing that happened in the novel that was very interesting to me. But the story moves on. We get the Transfamadorian story. Billy was abducted. He gets taken to this planet, and he is treated like an animal. He's put in a zoo, the same way that we would go to a zoo and watch lions and other animals. Billy is treated the same way. They watch his every move, and he gets an audience of these aliens. They're watching him, they're observing him, and eventually they bring him a mate. They bring him a movie star woman. They force them. They don't exactly force them, but they want them to mate and have children. So they do so, and they watch the whole thing. And Billy has this kid with this movie star on their planet. Eventually, he goes back home, and what happens is um, we get another time jump because, to be clear, this novel doesn't go in order. Um, first you're at war, then you're on another planet. He's being abducted. Then you just jump to Billy being married, and Billy gets married to this woman, a very big fat woman called Valencia, and you know, it's depicted or it's illustrated that in the novel that Billy really does this because it's the most comfortable or the most easy thing that he can do. Because by marrying this woman, he got a lot of connection. Her father was an optometrist. Her father was very connected. So by marrying this woman that wasn't going to be married by anybody else, Billy, secures a very profitable life where he would get a lot of money, and you know get advances economically. But it really doesn't depict that he actually loved Valencia, but it doesn't even depict that he would hate Valencia either. The only thing that's said about his marriage is that the Transfamadorians told him that his marriage would be very bearable with Valencia. So he takes that and he's like, okay, I'm gonna marry her because it's more preferable. So I think that was sad and um, lazy because he really married for advancements. He really didn't marry because he felt some type of way about Valencia. I mean, there's evidence to say that he did, but to my perspective, I think he just married because that was the most easiest thing to do to get him somewhere in his life. So Billy is an optometrist. Valencia's father does get him a job, and he makes a lot of money. He's an eye doctor. He's giving kids glasses, and there's a lot of people that uses these glasses in these factories. And um, Valencia and Billy, they do have a happy life together. And the novel jumps again. We're back at war. So, just to be clear, there is a lot of jumping in this novel. And the reason why the author does this, it's because he wants to show how horrific war can be. This novel, unlike other novels, it is not in order at all. It is very it's all over the place. War is senseless. War doesn't make any sense. You kill thousands of people, and then a country says, "I give up," and then we go back home and we rebuild. And why did all these people have to die? Why did we have to go to war? Why can't we just sit down and deal through it through diplomacy or something like that? But the novel does say that a war is another way. It can't be stopped. Wars are going to happen. It's natural. It's if we even look in the animal kingdom, animals do nothing but fight each other and kill each other for gain. Um, in the same way, in the human world, you know anything can set us off, and we can start fighting for no reason. So the novel does say that war is senseless, and we have no um, clear understanding or clear meaning why we do it. Um, and the structure of this novel, the way that the novel jumps around, and the way that the novel never stays in one place. You start the story and you get you're intrigued about it, and then it jumps somewhere else, and you're like, what happened to the other thing I was reading? It does eventually come back to what you were reading, but it can be confusing if you read this book for the first time, and expect to understand it fully. So Billy, with his people that he was captured with the troops that he was captured with, later in the novel, they're sent to Dresden, and this is where the book of the name of this book, Slaughterhouse 5, comes from. Because in Dresden, they're sent to this slaughterhouse, slaughterhouse number 5, and this place get bombed. Like, it's horrific the way in which it gets bombed. You get people being killed, um, you know, blown up. Um, war, again, war is something that cannot be described, and the author doesn't really describe war in this novel. He goes around it because to really experience how horrific war is, you have to be in it. Because someone can show you a picture, someone can describe it to you. But to be a soldier, to be a person that experiences war, it's a whole different thing. Because these soldiers, they're in Slaughterhouse 5. Imagine everything around you being burned. There's fire coming from the sky, bombs falling from the sky, everything being blown up. The ground is shaking underneath you. You have people blowing up, people that you know, people that you have fought beside. Their limbs are being cut off and they're being, um, you know, they're hitting you and like the body parts, people are being blown up, and if you're near them you're getting hit by that debris, and it's traumatizing. It's something that you cannot get rid of from your memory. That's why a lot of soldiers come back and they have PTSD. And Billy, the main character of this novel, you can say that he has PTSD. You can say that he's suffering from the plane crash where he, fractured his skull. And a lot of people saying that's why he's talking about aliens. That's why he says he was abducted. It's because of the war and because of the plane crash. People are thinking that he's just a crazy man. But really, Billy says that I'm not crazy. I can see the world better than any of you. Um, and that's a very important thing. It's important to realize Billy is a optometrist. He prescribes glasses. He fixes. When you go to the doctor and get glasses, you want to see better. Billy's an optometrist. This is very important. Billy is a person that always survives in this novel. Well, he eventually dies, but we see a lot of things that happen in this war through Billy's circumstances. And I think that the way in which the war depicts how Billy's life is disorderly, the book is giving us these lenses, these glasses lenses to look at war through. You know, when you read a history book, you basically get, this happened, that happened, and the end. The novel does not do this. The novel tells you this happened, yes, but you know, this other thing happened too, and then this other thing happened. So war is not linear. War is not orderly. War is not, um, you know, one like it affects on all fronts. So really, the same way that you can be confused by this novel, it's the same way that war can be confusing. Because a lot of countries always say that we're gonna go to war for this amount of time, but that's never true. You can enter a war, you don't know when you're gonna come out of it. You know, so that's one of the meanings and one of the understandings that I get from this novel. At the end of the novel, Billy does survive, and other troops does survive, and you get this bird, like this silence. Dresden is totally and utterly destroyed. Um, a lot of people, a lot of U.S. soldiers, a lot of people in general have died, um, and you get this bird saying "Tweety P" or just a bird saying something that doesn't make any sense. You're like, what what does that even mean? Like you're totally confused. I'm pretty sure if you read this novel, you automatically Google it and you're like, what did this bird say? What that means, that bird that just says Tweety Tweety something at the end of the novel, um, it doesn't make sense, right? Um, Most people would say that that sound doesn't make sense. It's because it's saying that war doesn't make sense. War has no logical or no reasonable um, factors behind it, because you're flabbergasted over the circumstances that you've went through. You don't know how you're going to cope from it. Most people don't cope from it. A lot of soldiers, when they come back from war, they suffer from PTSD. They can't go back to who they were, or they can't. Some of them can't be happy. They can't be rejoiceful. They're forever scarred because they've just been killing other people for however long. So you see a lot of things that can never be erased from your mind. And even though governments will clear up the mess, they write their history books, and new cities and new people will be made and fill in the gaps. Still, war is something that cannot be seen through the lenses of a history books. The most horrific parts of war are seen by the people who are the soldiers, who are the victims, the direct victims of war. And that's one of the interpretations we can get from this novel. In terms of review, um, this novel, I really enjoyed it. I think that um, it can say a lot. It's not something you've ever read, because we as readers of novels, we are pretty much used to the whole beginning, end, and middle. Wow, I just messed that up. I mean, beginning, middle, and end. We're used to that. We're used to that comfortable, thing. Like, you know, in your life, you're born, you reach the middle of your life, then you die, right? As humans, we set these patterns. We set these things. Okay, at this age you do this. At this age you do this. This novel really gives you a different types of different lenses to look at reality, where nothing is really set, nothing is really in order, everything is disorganized, and that is war. To be honest, war is all over the place. Um, if you make any attachments at war, they're not long lasting. They're here and then they go. The sense of time. This is why this novel is so interesting. Even the sense of time, like time and space, is altered, because when you read this novel, it's jumping around so much you don't know what is the time periods between different things. I'm pretty sure if you really look at it, you're gonna be able to determine it. But the way that the novel jumps from here to there, and then it connects different things, it's very interesting in that sense. So, very good book. It teaches a lot about war. Again, the novel as a whole, this is what I've been trying to say through this whole video. The novel as a whole, the disorganization of it is a explanation of how war can be horrible and unorderly. Unorderly. It's turmoil. So that's the video, guys. If this video helped you in any way, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, tell me if this helped you in any way, and I'll see you guys next time for another video.